The formal meeting began 2 hours after the humans arrived. They were led to the Grand Assembly Hall, the largest chamber on the station. It was built to hold representatives from every species in the council, with seating areas designed for beings of every possible shape and size. Daniel Hayes walked to the speaking platform at the center of the hall. The platform was a raised circle of polished stone, surrounded by tiers of seats that rose up like the inside of a bowl. Thousands of alien faces looked down at him. Some had eyes like his own. Others had compound eyes, or stalked eyes, or no eyes at all. Some breathed air. Others floated in sealed tanks of liquid or gas. It was, Daniel thought, the strangest audience he had ever addressed. High Chancellor Vothrix sat in the central position of honor, flanked by the senior members of the council. His voice echoed through the hall, amplified by hidden speakers. We are gathered to receive the delegation from Earth and to learn about the species known as humanity. Ambassador Hayes, you may begin. Daniel nodded. Thank you, High Chancellor. On behalf of the people of Earth, I thank you for this opportunity. We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation with the civilized species of the galaxy. A murmur ran through the crowd. Daniel could not tell if it was approval or skepticism. We understand that you have questions about us, he continued. We are happy to answer them. Dr. Price, if you would. Samantha Price stepped forward. She was a small woman with red hair and freckles, but her voice was clear and confident. She activated a portable holographic projector and began displaying images of Earth. Humanity evolved on the third planet of our solar system. Earth is a world of diverse environments, from frozen ice caps to hot deserts to vast oceans. We believe this diversity shaped our development as a species. The hologram showed images of early humans hunting on the African plains. Samantha continued her explanation. We evolved as persistence hunters. Unlike many predators that rely on speed or strength, we developed the ability to chase prey over long distances. We could run for hours without stopping, tracking our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Several delegates shifted in their seats. The Valnari liaison, Kyrex, leaned forward with visible interest. This hunting method required cooperation, Samantha said. We learned to work together, to communicate, to plan. It also required endurance. Our bodies developed the ability to regulate temperature through sweating, allowing us to remain active in conditions that would disable other species. Counselor Drethsa interrupted. You are saying that your species hunted by simply refusing to stop? Yes, Samantha confirmed. We would chase an animal for hours, sometimes days, until it could no longer run. Then, we would kill it. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. The Morvani were known as fierce warriors, but even they hunted by ambush and overwhelming force. The idea of simply chasing prey until it died of exhaustion was disturbing to them. Samantha continued. Our bodies have several other notable features. Our bones can heal after breaking. Our immune systems can adapt to fight new diseases. We can survive the loss of many organs and continue to function. And we can eat a remarkably wide range of substances, including many that are toxic to other species. Such as? Vothrix asked. Alcohol, for example. We ferment plant sugars to create drinks that damage our nervous systems and impair our judgment. We drink them for pleasure. The chamber went silent. We also consume caffeine, a stimulant that would kill many species in small doses. We eat capsaicin, a chemical that causes intense pain in our mouths, because we enjoy the sensation. We expose ourselves to ultraviolet radiation to change the color of our skin. Chirex made a clicking sound that his translator rendered as disbelief. You poison yourselves for entertainment? We have a saying on Earth, Daniel interjected. What does not kill us makes us stronger. We believe that challenging ourselves, even painfully, helps us grow. High Chancellor Vothrix raised a hand for silence. This is all very interesting from a biological perspective. but we are more concerned with your society. Tell us about your history. Samantha glanced at Daniel. He nodded slightly. They had discussed this moment before leaving Earth. They had decided that honesty was the only option. The Council would learn the truth eventually, and being caught in a lie would be far worse than any confession. Human history is complex, Samantha said carefully. We have achieved great things. We have built cities and monuments. We have created art and music and literature. We have developed science and medicine and technology. She paused. We have also done terrible things. We have fought wars against each other throughout our history. We have conquered and enslaved. We have committed atrocities that shame us to remember. The hologram changed to show images of warfare. Soldiers marching, bombs falling, cities burning. In our recorded history, we have fought over 15,000 armed conflicts. We have killed hundreds of millions of our own kind. We have developed weapons capable of destroying our entire planet. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted and clicked and buzzed in their various languages. Translators struggled to keep up with the chaos. High Chancellor Vothrix had to call for order multiple times before the noise subsided. Councillor Drethexa rose from her seat. She was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, with scales like polished bronze and teeth like knives. Her voice was cold with anger. You admit to this? You stand before this council and confess to mass murder of your own species? We do not confess, Daniel said calmly. We acknowledge. There is a difference. A confession implies guilt and asks for forgiveness. We are not asking for forgiveness. We are simply telling you the truth about who we are. And who are you? Drethexa demanded. Monsters? Savages? We are survivors, Daniel replied. Everything we have done, good and bad, has been in service of survival. When resources were scarce, we fought over them. When our existence was threatened, we fought to protect ourselves. When we made mistakes, we learned from them and tried to do better. He stepped forward and his voice grew stronger. Yes, we have weapons that can destroy planets. We developed them during a war against each other. And then we stepped back from the edge. We chose not to use them. We chose to try for peace instead. But you still have them, Cherex pointed out. Yes, because we learned that peace is not guaranteed. Peace must be defended. And sometimes the only way to defend peace is to show that you are capable of war. High Chancellor Vothrix studied the human ambassador with his 4 pale eyes. You are a violent species that has somehow managed not to destroy itself. Is that what you are telling us? I am telling you that we are a species that has learned the cost of violence, Daniel said. We know what war means better than any species that has never experienced it. We have walked through fire, and we have come out the other side. Scarred, perhaps, but alive, and determined to find a better way. The chamber fell silent again. The delegates looked at each other, uncertain how to respond. Finally, Vothrix spoke. We will take a short recess to consider what we have heard. Ambassador Hayes, please wait in the guest quarters. We will summon you when we are ready to continue. Daniel nodded. Of course, High Chancellor. He turned and walked out of the chamber, his delegation following close behind. The eyes of the galaxy watched them go. When they reached the privacy of their assigned quarters, Lisa closed the door and leaned against it. Well, she said, that could have gone better. Kevin shook his head. Actually, I think it went about as well as we could have hoped. They are scared of us now. Scared is good. Scared means they will think twice before trying to push us around. Scared can also mean they will try to destroy us before we become a bigger threat, Samantha pointed out. Daniel walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. They will not destroy us. They are too curious. They have never met a species like us before, and they want to understand what we are. And what are we? Lisa asked. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. We are human, he said finally. For better or worse, we are the children of a world that tried to kill us 1,000 different ways, and we survived all of them. We are the descendants of hunters who chased their prey to exhaustion, of warriors who fought against impossible odds, of dreamers who looked at the stars and refused to believe they were out of reach. He turned to face his team. We are everything they fear, and we are everything they might someday admire. Our job now is to show them which version of humanity we want to be. The recess lasted longer than expected. Hours passed with no word from the council. The human delegation waited in their quarters, trying to stay calm, while the fate of their species was debated by beings they barely understood. Kevin Torres stood by the door, watching the corridor through a small window. 6 guards had been posted outside their quarters. They were Morvani, the same reptilian species as Counselor Drexa. Each one carried a weapon that looked like a cross between a rifle and a tuning fork. They have doubled the guard, Kevin reported, and they changed them out about an hour ago. Fresh troops. Daniel looked up from his tablet. Are they trying to intimidate us or protect themselves? Both, probably. They do not know what to make of us yet. In the corner of the room, Samantha was studying data on her computer. She had been running analyses on everything they had learned about galactic civilization. I have been looking at their history, she said. The Council has existed for 12,000 years, but it has not always been peaceful. There have been wars, invasions, extinction events. How many species have they lost? Lisa asked. At least 40. Some were wiped out by natural disasters. Others destroyed themselves through civil war or environmental collapse. A few were conquered and absorbed by other species. Daniel set down his tablet. What about external threats? Have they ever faced enemies from outside the Council? Samantha nodded slowly. There are references to something called the Void Swarm. It happened about 3,000 years ago. Some kind of invasion from deep space. The details are classified, but the casualty reports suggest they lost over 50 billion people before they stopped it. Kevin whistled softly. 50 billion. That is more than the entire population of Earth. And they won, Daniel said thoughtfully. They survived, which means they know how to fight when they have to. The door chimed. A moment later, Kyrex entered the room. The Valnari liaison looked nervous, his compound eyes darting from face to face. The Council has requested that you remain in your quarters for the duration of the evening cycle, he said. Food and refreshments will be provided. The formal sessions will resume tomorrow. Is there a problem? Daniel asked. Kyrex hesitated. There is considerable debate about your species. Some council members believe you should be welcomed as partners. Others believe you should be isolated until you prove yourselves less dangerous. A few have suggested more extreme measures. How extreme? Quarantine of your solar system, destruction of your faster-than-light capability, forced reduction of your population to sustainable levels. The humans exchanged glances. They want to wipe out most of our species. It has been suggested, Chirex admitted, though I do not believe it will happen. Such measures have only been used against species that posed immediate existential threats to the Council. You are frightening, but you are not quite that frightening. Yet. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. A word of advice, Ambassador. The Council respects strength, but it fears unpredictability. If you want to survive this process, show them that you can be trusted to behave rationally. Show them that your violence has purpose and limits. Thank you, Chirex, Daniel said. We will keep that in mind. The Valnari nodded and left. The door sealed behind him. Kevin waited until the sound of footsteps faded. He is trying to help us. Why? Because he is curious, Samantha said. The Valnari are scholars by nature. They study new species the way we study new science. We are the most interesting thing to happen to him in probably centuries. Or because he knows something we do not, Daniel added. He mentioned the Council respects strength. Maybe he wants to see how strong we really are. The evening passed slowly. The humans ate the food that was provided, a selection of nutrient pastes and processed proteins that tasted like nothing in particular. They took turns sleeping while the others kept watch. It was not necessary, probably, but old habits died hard. Just after midnight station time, the alarm went off. Red lights flashed in the corridor. A computerized voice announced an emergency in a language the humans did not understand. But the meaning was clear enough when they heard the hiss of escaping atmosphere. Kevin was at the door in seconds. Hull breach, adjacent corridor. The guards are panicking. Daniel made a decision instantly. We help. Lisa, find the emergency sealant kits. Samantha, check for injured. Kevin, with me. They moved without hesitation. Kevin forced the door open manually when the electronic lock failed. The corridor outside was chaos. The Morvani guards were scrambling, trying to seal the section doors, but their movements were uncoordinated. They had clearly never dealt with this kind of emergency before. The breach was visible 20 meters down the corridor. A crack had appeared in the wall, and atmosphere was venting through it in a visible stream of white vapor. The temperature was dropping rapidly. Kevin ran toward the breach, while Daniel shouted orders. Lisa, seal kit. Samantha, get those guards back. The pressure differential will pull them toward the crack. Lisa arrived with a canister of emergency sealant. Kevin grabbed it and sprayed the foam directly into the crack. The chemical compound expanded on contact with vacuum, hardening into an airtight seal within seconds. Samantha had pulled 2 of the guards to safety. A third was unconscious near the breach point, overcome by the sudden pressure drop. Daniel dragged him clear while Kevin finished sealing the crack. 47 seconds after the alarm started, the breach was contained. Kevin checked the seal one more time, then turned to face the surviving guards. They stared at him with something that might have been awe or terror. Probably both. Your environmental systems are damaged, Kevin told them. You need to report this to station maintenance immediately. And you should probably get your friend to medical. The guards did not move. Daniel stepped forward. Go, now. We will wait here. Something in his voice broke through their shock. The guards picked up their unconscious companion and hurried away, leaving the humans alone in the corridor. Lisa leaned against the wall and let out a breath. Well, that was exciting. Too exciting, Daniel said. That breach was not natural. Kevin nodded. I saw the crack before I sealed it. It was too clean, too precise. Someone cut through the wall from the other side. A test, Samantha said quietly. They wanted to see how we would react to danger. Daniel looked up at the ceiling, where he suspected cameras were hidden. Then I hope we gave them a good show. Far above, in a secure observation room, High Chancellor Vothrix watched the footage of the breach response for the 3rd time. Beside him, Councillor Dretza and several other senior council members sat in troubled silence. 47 seconds, Vothrix said. They identified the threat, organized a response, executed the repair, and secured the casualties. 47 seconds. They did not hesitate, Dretza admitted grudgingly. They did not even check to see if the threat was real. They simply acted. Because they assumed it was real, another counselor said. They assumed lives were at stake, and they acted to save them. Even the lives of guards who were posted to keep them contained. Vothrix leaned back in his chair. We have seen their history. We know they are violent. But this is something different. This is discipline. This is cooperation. This is instinct. Pack behavior, Dretza said. They are social predators. They function as a unit without needing to communicate. Each one knew their role and executed it without instructions. And they protected our people, Chirex added. He had been summoned to the observation room shortly after the incident. They could have used the chaos to escape or to attack the guards. Instead, they saved them. Vothrix was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. We designed this test to see if the humans would panic under pressure. to see if their violent nature would emerge when they were threatened. Instead, we learned something far more important. He turned to face the other council members. They do not panic, they do not hesitate, and when there is a crisis, they do not think of themselves first. They think of the mission, they think of each other. Dretsa made a rumbling sound deep in her chest. They are more dangerous than we thought. Yes, Vothrix agreed, but they are also more useful than we thought. The question now is whether we can find a way to work with them, or whether we will have to find a way to destroy them before they become too powerful to stop. He looked at the frozen image on the screen. Daniel Hayes was staring directly at the camera, as if he knew he was being watched. His expression was calm and knowing. I suspect, Vothrix said slowly, that destruction may not be as easy as some of us hope. The second session began the next morning. The atmosphere in the Grand Assembly Hall had changed. The delegates who had looked at the humans with curiosity now looked at them with something closer to fear. Word of the hull breach incident had spread quickly through the station. Daniel Hayes walked to the speaking platform with his head held high. He could feel the weight of those stares pressing down on him, but he refused to let it show. Humanity had been judged and found wanting by countless enemies throughout its history. They had survived all of them. High Chancellor Vothrix called the session to order. His voice was calm, but there was a new tension in his posture. We have reviewed the events of last night, he said. We have also continued our analysis of your species and your history. Before we proceed, the Council has questions. Councillor Drethexa rose from her seat. She towered over the chamber like a bronze statue, her yellow eyes fixed on Daniel. Your species has developed weapons capable of destroying your entire planet, she said. You have used nuclear weapons against your own cities. You have created biological agents designed to wipe out entire populations. How can we trust a species that has done such things? Daniel met her gaze without flinching. You cannot trust us based on our past. You can only trust us based on our choices. Your choices include mass murder. Yes, they do. Daniel's voice was steady. 70 years ago, my people dropped 2 atomic bombs on cities filled with civilians. Hundreds of thousands of people died in seconds. Many more died slowly from radiation poisoning. The chamber was utterly silent. We did this to end a war that had already killed tens of millions. We believed that the horror of those bombs would be less than the horror of continued fighting. We may have been right, we may have been wrong. Historians still debate it. He paused. But here is what happened next. We looked at what we had done, and we were horrified by ourselves. We created international laws against the use of such weapons. We built systems to prevent accidental launches. We signed treaties to limit our stockpiles. We chose collectively to step back from the edge of destruction. Dretsa made a sound of contempt. You expect us to believe that a species capable of such evil simply chose to stop? No, Daniel said. We did not stop. We changed. There is a difference. He stepped forward, and his voice grew stronger. We are still capable of terrible things. Every human being carries within them the capacity for violence, for cruelty, for destruction. But we also carry the capacity for compassion, for sacrifice, for love. The choice of which capacity to express is what defines us. Pretty words, Dretsa said. But words are cheap. Then let me give you actions. Daniel turned to address the entire chamber. Last night, there was a hull breach near our quarters. It was a test, obviously. You wanted to see how we would respond to danger. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some delegates looked uncomfortable at having their test exposed so openly. We knew it was probably a test, Daniel continued. We suspected you were watching to see if we would panic, or fight, or try to escape. But we did not care, because there were people in danger, and helping them was more important than passing your test. He pointed at the Morvani guards stationed along the walls of the chamber. Your guards were unprepared for that emergency. They froze. They did not know what to do. So we did it for them. We sealed the breach. We carried their injured to safety. We did this for beings who were assigned to keep us imprisoned. The chamber had gone completely quiet now. Even Drethsa had nothing to say. This is who we are, Daniel said. We are capable of terrible violence, but we are also capable of running into danger to save strangers. We are capable of sacrificing ourselves for people we have never met. We are capable of looking at our worst mistakes and choosing to be better. He looked directly at High Chancellor Vothrix. You ask how you can trust us. I ask you this. How can you afford not to? Look at what we accomplished in less than a century. We went from horse-drawn carriages to walking on the moon. We went from candles to splitting the atom. We went from isolated tribes to a connected global civilization. His voice dropped lower, more intense. Imagine what we could accomplish in 1,000 years. Imagine what we could do with the knowledge and resources of galactic civilization behind us. We could be the greatest threat this council has ever faced, or we could be its greatest ally. The choice is yours. High Chancellor Vothrix studied the human ambassador for a long moment. Then he spoke. You are asking us to take an enormous risk. You are asking us to accept a species that has proven itself capable of self-destruction into the family of galactic civilizations. I am asking you to see us as we truly are, Daniel replied. Not just our darkness, but our light as well. Vothrix nodded slowly. Then show us your light. Tell us about the other side of humanity. Tell us about your heroes. Daniel had not expected this. He glanced at his team. Lisa gave him an encouraging nod. Where should I begin? Daniel asked. Begin with sacrifice, Vothrix said. You say your species is capable of giving their lives for others. Prove it. Daniel was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Then he began to speak. When I was a child, there was a fire in my neighborhood. An apartment building caught fire in the middle of the night. Dozens of families were trapped inside. The chamber listened intently. A firefighter named Carlos Mendez responded to the call. He was the first one into the building. He found a family on the 4th floor, a mother and her 2 children. The stairway was blocked by flames. The only way out was through a window. Daniel's voice grew softer. Carlos carried those children down a ladder, one at a time, through smoke so thick he could barely see. Then he went back for the mother. By then, the floor was collapsing. The other firefighters told him it was too dangerous. They ordered him to come out. He paused. He went back in anyway. He found the mother unconscious near the window. He picked her up and started back down the ladder. He made it halfway before the wall collapsed and the ladder fell. The chamber was absolutely silent. Carlos shielded the woman with his body as they fell. She survived with minor injuries. Carlos died in the hospital 3 days later. He was 29 years old. He had a wife and a daughter who was 2 years old. Daniel looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching him. This was not a war. This was not a battle for survival or resources. This was a man who chose to risk his life for strangers because he believed that human life had value, because he believed that saving others was worth dying for. He straightened his shoulders. Every day, all across Earth, people make choices like this. Doctors who work until they collapse to save patients they have never met. Teachers who spend their own money to help students who have nothing. Ordinary people who donate blood, who volunteer at shelters, who stop to help strangers on the street. His voice rose. You see our wars and our weapons, and you think you understand us. But you are only seeing half the picture. Yes, we are capable of terrible things, but we are also capable of extraordinary kindness. We are capable of love so deep that we will die for people whose names we do not even know. Counselor Drethexa spoke, and her voice was quieter than before. Why? Why would anyone die for a stranger? Daniel smiled sadly. Because to us, there are no strangers. Only family we have not met yet. The chamber remained silent for a long time after he finished speaking. Delegates looked at each other, uncertain how to respond. High Chancellor Vothrix sat motionless in his chair, his 4 eyes fixed on the human ambassador. Finally, Vothrix spoke. We will take another recess. The council must deliberate on what we have heard. Ambassador Hayes, you and your delegation will be notified when we are ready to announce our decision. Daniel nodded. Thank you, High Chancellor. He turned and walked out of the chamber, his team following close behind. As they left, he heard whispered conversations breaking out among the delegates. Lisa fell into step beside him. Do you think it worked? I do not know, Daniel admitted. But we told them the truth. That is all we could do. Behind them, in the Grand Assembly Hall, the debate was already beginning, but the tone had changed. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now. The deliberation lasted 3 days. The human delegation waited in their quarters, cut off from the outside world. No news came from the council chamber. No visitors arrived, except for the servants who brought their meals. The guards outside their door changed shifts in silence, refusing to make eye contact. Kevin spent most of his time exercising or standing watch by the door. Lisa reviewed their contingency plans obsessively, preparing for every possible outcome. Samantha buried herself in research, studying everything she could find about galactic law and precedent. Daniel sat by the viewport and watched the stars. On the morning of the 4th day, the summons finally came. Chirex appeared at their door, his compound eyes gleaming with barely contained excitement. The council has reached a decision. You are requested in the Grand Assembly Hall immediately. Daniel stood and straightened his uniform. Whatever happens in there, I want you all to know that I am proud of you. We came here representing all of humanity, and we did our best. Lisa smiled. No matter what they decide, we showed them who we are. Kevin nodded. And we did not back down. Not once. Samantha took a deep breath. Let us go find out if it was enough. They walked through the corridors of the station one last time. The hall seemed quieter than before. Delegates from other species stopped to watch them pass, their expressions unreadable. The Grand Assembly Hall was packed. Every seat was filled. Even the observation galleries above were crowded with representatives from species that had no formal vote. The entire galactic community had gathered to witness this moment. Daniel walked to the speaking platform and stood in the center of the chamber. His team took their positions behind him. He could feel the weight of 1 billion eyes upon them, not just in this room, but across the galaxy. This moment would be recorded and remembered for generations. High Chancellor Vothrix rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent. We have spent 3 days deliberating on the question of humanity, Vothrix began. We have studied your history and your biology. We have observed your behavior under stress. We have listened to your words and weighed them against your actions. He paused, letting the silence stretch. This has been one of the most difficult decisions in the history of the Council. You are unlike any species we have ever encountered. You are violent and unpredictable. You are resilient and adaptable. You are capable of both tremendous cruelty and tremendous compassion. Daniel kept his expression neutral, but his heart was pounding. Some members of this council believe that humanity represents an existential threat to galactic civilization. They argue that your violent nature makes you too dangerous to be allowed to spread among the stars. They have recommended that your species be quarantined to your home system until you prove yourselves capable of peaceful coexistence. A murmur ran through the crowd. Daniel felt Lisa tense beside him. Other members believe that humanity represents an unprecedented opportunity. They argue that your unique combination of aggression and cooperation, of violence and compassion, makes you potentially valuable allies. They have recommended that you be welcomed into galactic society with appropriate safeguards. Vothrix looked directly at Daniel. After extensive debate, the council has voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it was clear. The chamber held its breath. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. The room erupted. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. Some delegates cheered. Others protested. Translators struggled to keep up with the chaos. Daniel felt a wave of relief wash over him, but he kept his composure. This was not over yet. Vothrix raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for order to be restored. This decision comes with conditions, he continued. First, humanity will be assigned a team of council observers who will monitor your activities and report on your behavior. Second, you will not be permitted to expand beyond your current solar system for a period of 50 standard cycles. Third, you will be required to participate in cultural exchange programs designed to foster understanding between your species and the rest of the galaxy. We accept these conditions. There is one more thing, Vothrix said. The chamber went quiet again. During our deliberations, we discussed why we should take such a risk, why we should admit a species as dangerous as you into our community. The answer we found was simple, but uncomfortable. Vothrix's 4 eyes seemed to look not just at Daniel, but through him. The galaxy is not safe. It has never been safe. There are things in the darkness between stars that we do not fully understand. Threats that we have barely survived in the past. Enemies that we may face again in the future. He paused. When the Void Swarm came 3,000 years ago, we nearly fell. We lost worlds beyond counting. We lost species that will never return. We survived only through sacrifice and luck and desperate alliances. Even the most vocal opponents of humanity were listening. We believe that when the next great threat emerges, humanity will not run. We believe you will fight. We believe that your violent nature, your stubborn refusal to accept defeat, your willingness to sacrifice yourselves for others will make you formidable allies in the battles to come. Vothrix allowed himself a thin smile. Frankly, Ambassador Hayes, we would rather have you fighting beside us than against us. And we would rather be your friends now than try to contain you later. Daniel felt something shift in the room. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now. Respect, perhaps. Or maybe just pragmatic acceptance. We are honored by your trust, Daniel said carefully, and we will do everything in our power to prove that it was not misplaced. See that you do, Counselor Drethexa said. Her voice was gruff, but there was a hint of grudging approval in it. The council does not give second chances. The formal session ended with the signing of preliminary treaties and the exchange of diplomatic credentials. It was bureaucratic and tedious, but Daniel did not mind. Every document signed was another step toward humanity's acceptance among the stars. When it was finally over, the human delegation returned to their ship. The Endurance had been cleared for departure, and the crew was eager to begin the long journey home. Daniel stood at the viewport one last time, watching the council station shrink behind them. Lisa, Kevin, and Samantha gathered beside him. We did it, Lisa said softly. We actually did it. We took the first step, Daniel corrected. There is a long road ahead. The council will be watching our every move. One mistake could undo everything we accomplished here. Kevin shrugged. Then we will not make mistakes. Samantha smiled. Or we will make new kinds of mistakes. That seems more like humanity. Daniel laughed. It was the first time he had laughed since they arrived at the station. You know what the strangest part is? He said. They were afraid of us. beings who have ruled the stars for 12,000 years, who have seen empires rise and fall, who have technology we can barely comprehend. And they were afraid of us. Because they saw what we are capable of, Lisa said. Because they saw both sides of what we are capable of, Daniel replied. The violence and the compassion, the destruction and the creation. They looked at humanity, and they saw something they had never encountered before. He turned away from the viewport. They saw a species that is still becoming what it will be. A species that has not yet decided who it wants to be. And that terrifies them. Because they do not know if we will become their greatest allies or their worst nightmare. Which will we be? Kevin asked. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. That depends on us, on the choices we make, on the people we become. The Council has given us a chance. Now it is up to humanity to prove that we deserve it. The Endurance accelerated toward the jump point, its engines burning bright against the darkness. Behind them, the Council station continued its ancient orbit, now home to one more species among the stars. Somewhere in the diplomatic archives, a Selenari scribe finished recording the official summary of humanity's first contact. The entry would be studied by scholars for generations to come. Species 6847, designated humanity. Origin world, Earth. Classification, social predator, highly adaptive, technologically progressive. Psychological profile, unpredictable. Capable of extreme violence and extreme compassion in equal measure. Threat assessment, undetermined. Recommendation, proceed with extreme caution. Recommend alliance over opposition. It was, perhaps, the most honest assessment any species had ever received. And far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star, 7 billion humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their place among the stars had just been secured. Their journey was only beginning. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 600 different species lived under its laws. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched stars die and new worlds form. They believed they had seen everything the universe could offer. They were wrong. High Chancellor Vothrix sat in his private chamber aboard the great council station. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His gray skin had turned almost white with age, and his 4 eyes had grown dim. But his mind remained sharp, and right now, that mind was troubled. On his desk sat a report about a newly discovered species. They called themselves humans. They came from a small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. Just another primitive species taking its first steps into space. But the reports told a different story. Vothrix read the words again. The humans had split the atom. They had walked on their moon. They had sent machines to explore their solar system. And they had done all of this in less than a century. Most species took thousands of years to achieve such progress. The humans had done it in the blink of an eye. Even more disturbing were the reports about their nature. They were predators. They ate the flesh of other creatures. They had fought countless wars among themselves, killing millions of their own kind. They had weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. And now they were coming here. The council had sent an invitation to the humans, asking them to attend a peace meeting. It was standard procedure for new species. The council would assess them, determine if they were civilized enough to join galactic society, and set rules for their behavior among the stars. Vothrix had overseen dozens of such meetings in his long career, but something about this one felt different. Something felt wrong. Far across the void of space, the human diplomatic ship Endurance dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The ship was small by galactic standards, just 200 meters long, with a crew of 47. It was painted dark gray, with white markings that identified it as a vessel of the United Earth government. Ambassador Daniel Hayes stood at the main viewport and watched the council station grow larger. He was a tall man, with brown hair turning gray at the temples. His blue eyes were calm but alert. He had spent 30 years in diplomatic service, negotiating treaties and resolving conflicts. But nothing had prepared him for this. It was shaped like a great ring, spinning slowly around a pale gas giant. Lights glittered across its surface like stars brought down to Earth. Hundreds of ships of every shape and size were docked along its outer edges. Some were sleek and elegant. Others were bulky and industrial. A few were so strange that Daniel could not even guess at their purpose. Lieutenant Lisa Monroe stepped up beside him. She was his aide, a young woman with short black hair and sharp brown eyes. She carried a tablet computer loaded with briefing materials. "The station is called Harmony Point," she said. "It has been the seat of the Galactic Council for over 8,000 years. Current population is approximately 3 million, representing over 200 different species." Daniel nodded slowly. "And we are about to walk in there and introduce ourselves." "Yes, sir." "No pressure." "None at all, sir." Behind them, the rest of the delegation gathered. There was Kevin Torres, the security officer, a quiet man with dark eyes and a military bearing. Dr. Samantha Price was the xenobiologist, responsible for helping them understand the alien species they would meet. And there was Commander Jack Weber, the captain of the Endurance, who would remain on the ship but wanted to see them off. "Docking procedures are complete," Jack announced. "The station has cleared us to disembark at Port 47. They are sending an escort to meet us." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then let us not keep them waiting." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it lay a wide corridor, made of some white material that seemed to glow with its own inner light. The air smelled strange, a mix of chemicals and scents that Daniel could not identify. It was breathable, but only just. Daniel recognized them from the briefing materials. They were Velnari, an insectoid species that served as administrators and bureaucrats throughout the council. They stood on 4 legs, with 2 arms folded across their chests. Their heads were triangular, dominated by large compound eyes that reflected the light in rainbow patterns. The lead Velnari stepped forward. His mandibles clicked as he spoke, and a device around his neck translated his words into English. "Welcome to Harmony Point. I am Chirex, Senior Liaison for New Species Integration. Please follow me to the greeting chamber." Daniel nodded politely. "Thank you for receiving us." He stepped through the airlock and into the corridor. The Velnari guards immediately tensed. Their compound eyes focused on him with an intensity that he could feel, even without understanding their expressions. Chirex hesitated. "You are not wearing environmental protection." "No. We were told the atmosphere was compatible with our biology." "It is compatible, but most species still prefer to wear protective gear when visiting the station. The air mixture is optimized for the average, not for any specific species." Daniel shrugged. "We will manage." The humans walked forward, and the Velnari guards fell back a step. Chirex watched them move with visible unease. The humans walked differently from other species he had encountered. Their movements were smooth and controlled. Their eyes swept constantly across the corridor, noting every detail, every shadow, every possible threat. It was the movement pattern of hunters, predators assessing new territory. Chirex had welcomed over 100 new species to the council in his career. He had met beings of every shape and size, from floating gas creatures to silicon-based rock dwellers. None of them had ever made him feel the way these humans did. None of them had ever made him feel like prey. The greeting chamber was a vast circular room at the heart of the station. Its walls were lined with screens showing images of worlds from across the galaxy. Delegates from a dozen species had gathered to observe the new arrivals. They stood in small groups, talking quietly among themselves, their various translation devices creating a soft buzz of overlapping languages. When the humans entered, the conversation stopped. Every eye in the room turned to watch them. Daniel felt the weight of those stares, but kept his expression neutral. He had been warned that first impressions would matter. The galaxy was watching, and humanity would be judged by what happened in this room. High Chancellor Vothrix observed from a balcony above the chamber. He watched the 5 humans walk to the center of the room and stop. They stood close together, not quite touching, but clearly aware of each other's positions. It was a defensive formation, he realized. They were protecting each other's blind spots without even thinking about it. Fascinating, Vothrix murmured. Beside him, his aide, Counselor Drexa, made a sound of disgust. She was Morvani, a species of large reptilian beings known for their strength and their pride. They look weak, small and soft. I do not understand why we are wasting time on them. Look again, Vothrix said quietly. Look at their eyes. Drexa looked. The humans were smiling politely, nodding to the delegates around them, playing the role of friendly newcomers. But their eyes told a different story. Their eyes were cold and watchful. They were measuring everyone in the room, calculating distances, identifying threats. They are dangerous, Drexa admitted reluctantly. Yes, Vothrix agreed. The question is whether they are dangerous in a way we can use, or dangerous in a way we must fear. He turned away from the balcony and began walking toward the chamber floor. It was time to meet these humans for himself. And it was time to find out just what kind of species had come knocking at the door of galactic civilization.